Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Dynasty Six Pack. On behalf of my co-hosts, I have to say to everyone, for those about to mock, we salute you. Now here's a song that's not that. Technically not a song because songs actually require lyrics, but it's a musical intro to Dynasty Six Pack. The song remains the same. Mock drafting. Everyone loves to do it. Got a special mock draft episode today. I'm Kyle Senra. I'm your host and I suppose guide through this mystical journey, the new RSO journey that Rahul Natarajan is about to undertake. Rahul, welcome to the show again. How you doing?
Good. Good to see you. Good to see you, Jamie, as well. Very excited for this one. I think, much like I did back in the auction episode a few weeks ago, I'll probably take my seat on the student side of the classroom for this one. But yeah, very excited for the draft coming on Sunday. Though that episode provided a different view to what today is going to be, I think, and especially for first-time auctioneer like myself, even just being in the room, seeing what it entails for a player to be nominated, making bids, etc. I think it's just going to be a great experience. I'm really looking forward to this one.
I don't know why I welcome you to the show. You're a co-host, so it's not really welcoming you to the show. We're welcoming the audience in. But of course, we are, the three of us, and another co-host, Jamie Perog. Won't be participating today, but Jamie, we always love having you on no matter what.
Thanks, man. So I'll be your league villain today, and I'm probably also the reason that your sleeper pick is suddenly overhyped. You can find me overanalyzing all your RB3s. And yeah, if you're here, I mean, just to win your league, troll your league mates, or hear me talk about Roshan Johnson, let's get into it.
Yeah, I wonder if Roshan Johnson will be nominated. If JD was in the mock, he'd be able to nominate Roshan. I don't know. We'll find out. But yes, it'll be a mock draft on the Reality Sports online platform. And this is a platform that play with their specific salary cap contract league format for fantasy football. So it's unique to them. They've got a unique auction room. I know I've done sleeper auctions, I've done MFL auctions. Probably is the best auction room, I would say, is Reality Sports Online. So if you want to do auction drafts and the added bonus of you get to keep these players, not just a redraft, it is technically a dynasty league. The idea of future value, and typically in an RSO league, maybe not year one, but every other year, you'll have rookie drafts just like a typical dynasty league. But the advantage of salary cap contract leagues, or at least one of the reasons I like it so much, it's you get two drafts every year. You get a rookie draft, and then you have the free agent auction with all the available players who aren't under contract. In a startup, of course, that means every player is available. And it's going to be a wild ride this Sunday. Rahul and I are participating in a startup with 8 other managers. So this 10-team league is going to kick off. And honestly, next week, we'll probably get back and talk about what happened, dissect everything and roster build strategies and see how, because in this format with auction drafts, really, everyone can build their team the way they want to build. You're not confined to your position in a snake draft. So I think we can, it's an opportunity to even further dive into roster building. And of course, you can see not just Rahul and my own teams, but also all the other teams in the league. And of course, love feedback, love hearing from people. So if you like this other version of Jamie Perog, it is certainly not the one that you see on screen. Well, I guess now it is because the comments up on the screen. But yeah, Kyle, Rahul, and the dude at the bottom are here every week. Can't believe I just said that. But yeah, so come check us out on the Fantasy Six Pack YouTube channel. You can interact live. The fantasy6pack.com and the Fantasy Six Pack Discord. There's a lot happening right now. The F6P All Access membership is now live. So especially used for the fantasy football season. And there is a special promo right now. The promo code is F6P Pods. So F6P PODS, and all the letters are capitalized. We've got Bam McGee in the chat, and Bam is one of our co-managers in this league, Rahul. And
what's up,
Bam? Someone else who is new to the RSO format, so invited him for the mock. So he's in the mock right now. We've got 2 of our other league members with us, so 4 of us. We drafting against, I guess, 8 different AIs. Maybe I should have gotten 10 only, so we would have. I didn't think of that. Less auto draft, but I also thought it didn't really matter. Let's just get the players nominated and let's get going. The mock draft will kick off in 10 minutes from now. So I don't know, we'll just riff and talk about Dynasty and auction strategies before then. But in general, you look at the scoring settings, we talk about that. That should always be the first thing. But how are you guys approaching a startup draft? When you're kind of in this moment, 5 minutes before it starts, like what are the thoughts going through your heads and the last minute preparations or things you want to be focusing on?
Man, I was hoping Kyle would talk first because I was going to say I'm going to copy exactly what Kyle does in this one. The reference for our last auction episode, I'm looking at all the tight ends I can nominate right off the bat to clear them off the board. But like I alluded to, first auction draft, not really sure about the kind of sizing I do want to give. Budget-wise to each player, to each position, but in any dynasty format, I like to build around my the cornerstone assets. Generally, that's wide receiver, especially in a one quarterback format. So I'd, at least to start off, probably be looking to go in early and big on some core wide receivers for my team.
Go ahead, Jamie.
I don't know. Well, I'm not in this one, and I don't do the whole salary cap thing. But I'll tell you how I prepared for my auction draft last year. And I went out drinking the night before. I woke up with a massive hangover 5 minutes before the draft from a text saying we're starting soon. So I got up, chugged a bunch of water, slapped myself in the face, and then went on drafting. And I did come in second place in the league. So shout out to me. What I did is I went a whole heavy on wide receiver. So Rahul, I kind of like your strategy on that too. So just go heavy on the wide receivers. I think I got 3 top 12 receivers in that league. And just let the running backs fall value-wise.
Yeah, I think, again, and actually in this mock, I don't know where to change mock settings. I think they might just be standardized. It is one QB, not Superflex. And so we're not really focused tonight on necessarily the team build. Like I might just, I'll be honest, like tonight I'll just be transparent. I'll be throwing out players I just want. I won't have much strategy to how I'm nominating necessarily. So it's
hiding his he's not showing his hand, I guess.
I feel like I showed a lot of my hand 2 weeks ago. Right? And I'll talk about the strategy of nominating players you want versus bidding the players you want. I'll still approach it like trying to win the players I want to win. But I guess I'm not going to be as necessarily constrained. I'm just going to kind of go wild card tonight. I have no idea what I'm doing, but it's all about, again, learning the auction room. So I suppose, should we just, before the auction starts, share what this auction room is? And Rahul, if you have any questions about how it works. Jamie, if you see anything that you're curious about, feel free to also ask away.
I could probably say right now that I don't know if I'll be bidding on the very first player nominated because I don't even know what button to hit yet.
Well, let's think. You'll see they will show up. Here, I will share the screen and then we can point it out, perhaps.
I still remember my very first startup draft. Viewers of the show, I only started playing fantasy football in 2021. More than that, I really only started watching the NFL in 2021. I hadn't watched a regular season game until that. So going through this draft, the only 2 players I knew who were Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes, and I had no idea who the other names are. So this kind of has a little bit of the same kind of feel of that day so far.
So up here where the clock timer is, eventually it's going to happen. There will be bid buttons available. 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 year. So each time you're bidding, you are choosing the contract year, and the amount will be calculated based on whatever. To click this, you'll be the highest bid type thing. So it'll kind of indicate what the amounts are that you are bidding on. And that, again, it's based on just, okay, what is the previous high bid? And this is how you get the highest bid based on this many years. The more years you have, the less per year it can be, because essentially the way I understand the algorithm works is the player that you're bidding on, they're selecting like how free agents in real life would choose the best contract. They're choosing, I think, based on guaranteed money. So whatever contract has the most guaranteed money is what that amount will be. So when you're bidding your 4-year amount, it'll be less per year than your 1-year amount for that specific player. So it's all about, okay, what when the players come up. And one thing I didn't show on the auction sheet because I totally forgot to a couple weeks ago is also for this
story.
Yeah, I know. It's my bad. But how many years should each player have? And that could be a separate column you create, 1 through 4. Like, what is the ideal amount you would have these players for? But there's limits. Like, only 1 4-year contract, for instance, is limited in our league, and that's kind of the standard way to go about it. 1 4-year contract, 3 3-year contracts, and 3 2-year contracts, and then so that. There might be players you want to put on 4-year contracts, but you already used a 4-year contract, so you have to go to 3 years. And that kind of calculation, especially early in the auction, like what are you trying to do? Who are you putting that 4-year contract on? So those will be things. So you'll see as the first nomination comes up. Right now, you kind of have the list of players. You can cipher them through positions. I just had tight ends up. Naturally, and this is to add players to your queue to nominate. But yes, Jamie.
So you're obviously not going to put like a 4-year contract on like a Devontae Adams or an Aaron Jones, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
You want to save those for your higher or like younger players,
longer term wide receivers and super flex quarterback probably. So yeah.
Sure. This is not really. It's kind of related, but if I have a player on a 1-year contract, do I have priority to like
extend them?
Yeah. So once the auction was done, I was going to get through all this just because I didn't want to overload people with all the information. But essentially, there are mechanisms to re-sign players, and we are going to talk about one thing because the new guy that just joined, Mike, he was kind of bringing it up, and I have had this happen in other leagues. So typically, at the end of the season, or even in the year, there's essentially 2 ways to retain players that are about to be on expiring contracts. At the end of the year, there is a franchise tag. Like in the NFL, it's typically like the top 5 contracts at that position. It's the average of that. And if their contract already was higher than that, then you just increase it by, I think, 120%. I'm pretty sure RSO kind of does that exactly like the NFL does for the franchise tag. So that's one way to keep the player. The other way is extensions. And extensions are available in season. I think it's from week 5. It's either week 4 or week 5 through, I think, essentially the fantasy playoffs, like week 13 and week 14. Once that starts, I think week 14 is the last week of the regular season to be then. And you'll see in the contract tab on your, once you have your team on your team page, there'll be an ability to extend players. And the extension amount is there's an algorithm that decides what the extension amount is for every player. So there might be some pretty wacky numbers. And typically when I see wacky numbers, it's because like, this is so ridiculously high, I'd never pay it, which is kind of the point. It's not meant to be an easy decision. Like it's meant to like, man, I'm extending this player. It's really going to cost me. The other mechanism that combines both is the player you franchise tag. You can use that upcoming year's extension to extend them in the offseason. And there's a deadline for that as well. Typically, I think it is the auction. So you've got to, I think, franchise tag them before the rookie draft, and then you have to decide if you're going to extend them by the auction. So that is the mechanism way to retain those 1-year players.
We'll definitely be coming back to that at some point.
Yeah. Like I said, I wanted to just have everyone do the auction first, get set for that, and then we talk about that. Because the idea, I've seen leagues not have the extensions year 1 to let everything equal out and start year 2. I'm thinking that because I've also seen one thing leagues do is they extend the number of multi-year contracts the first year. They'll give you an extra 4-year contract that first year startup, usually to make up for the fact that there's no rookie draft. I'm not doing that in order to really keep the second year auction player pool as large as possible. But I thought as a way to make up for that, to allow extensions right off the bat. So that's what I was thinking. We're about 30 seconds away from this auction. So any final words here?
Let's mock.
We salute you? Okay. Let's mock, but no hard rock references anymore. That's not good. Throughout forever. All right, so I'm first up to nominate, and as you can see on my shirt, I've got the JT28 shirt. And yeah, let's just nominate Jonathan Taylor off the bat. It's kind of a random spot. It's not one of the elite players, but it's an interesting player nonetheless. So it's going to be interesting to see it. As you see, now see these contract amounts come up. So someone's got to click.
Oh my goodness.
So, wow. So yeah. So the AI already went crazy off the bat on these ridiculous amounts, like right away. So this would be a place where I'm glad I just threw Jonathan Taylor out and let the AI way overspend on this. But it also lets maybe people didn't want to maybe put the biggest name right off the bat. Like I want to let people kind of ease into it a little bit. And they can see, but you saw how like you had each of the 4 years available.
Mm-hmm.
Now your turn to nominate, bro.
I am going to nominate Jamar Chase.
Okay. So now knowing the reference of Jonathan Taylor went for 4 years, 231 million. I don't love the 4 years, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I'm willing to. I like the 4 years on Chase, and he's arguably the number one player. So at an amount that's okay, now it's gone up higher than Jonathan Taylor. This might give me some pause here.
I kind of want to see you win a player. So what gets deducted from your cap space? Like the average?
No, it'll be this year's cap hit, which all the contracts always escalate.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, well, yeah, when the next player comes up, whoever is nominated, we'll see the amount shown. So you also have to, once you nominate a player, click on that nomination button. Because sometimes I click on the player and why are they not being nominated? So yeah, so when you look at these amounts, you see a few things. You see the average. The G stands for guaranteed, and the 2025 cap hit. That's what's going to count on your cap. So this year's cap is what this 279.2 million is. The contracts do always escalate, so they will go up. Then the last year of the contract is always the most expensive. Still a little bit less than where Chase was at, so I'm willing to push this.
Ooh, and how do you see result? Is there a window to see results, or
you see the offers tab here on the side? You go to auction history, and that'll show you the last few. You'll be able to scroll down a bit too. So use that as a reference point.
I'm a quick learner, Kyle.
Now, the other thing too is the reason that these amounts up in the front. Hey, good job. You won Justin Jefferson.
Welcome the franchise, Justin Jefferson.
And a little bit less than Chase, and it'll be interesting to see how other players potentially in that tier go. Jesse Hall starting by nominating George Pickens.
This is an interesting one. I'm glad someone like Pickens came up kind of early because.
And it's interesting how he's getting the 1 year treatment. I mean, he's on the last year of his rookie contract, so maybe that's the motivations there. But one thing we haven't explored yet is the manual offers. So these contract amounts here are essentially just slightly higher than what the winning bid is. So you're not over jumping.
Right.
If you want to make a huge jump, you use these manual offers. Like a guy like CeeDee Lamb, he's someone I'm probably willing to put this manual offer on.
Mm-hmm.
I believe it's the average per year. So we go, let's say 50 million before. It was already too late, a little. But yeah, like that's how you could kind of fill in those to make those massive jumps, which I think on our what I assume will be very long startup on Sunday, I'll probably be more aggressive than I normally am on those big jumps, especially for players that I really want.
Because we're a bunch of noobs, isn't it?
Well, it's just I think it's also just to make it move more quickly, because this could take quite a while if you're going up to 58 million incrementally, it'll take 10, 20 minutes just for one player, right? So
yeah.
At least what's nice with this mock draft is it'll go quick because the AI is jumping these prices up.
So you say the manual offer is what you want to offer per year. I guess I'm just trying to think of a quick conversion between offering per year and what the cap hit is going to be.
Yeah, I think it is a certain percentage. I forget the calculation, but it's always going to be a little less than what the average is, naturally, because that first year is always less.
Right.
Yeah, it does kind of take you kind of have to see what these total amounts are, and then try and guess and jump ahead of them.
It's a little more.
So this is for Bijan Robinson. Is that who?
Yeah, that's the next player up is Bijan Robinson.
Okay.
As you can see here, once you have players in your team, like you'll see this too, Rahul, you've got your team here, salary for this very next year, 2025, and then how many years as well.
I see.
So I'm going to use that kind of a reference, like 56.8. That's CeeDee Lamb. Like he's probably like the third best asset in this league. So seeing Bijan go for what would have been like I think I saw $70 million in 2025 for a 3-year contract. Like I've kind of set a benchmark for what I'm willing to spend. Naturally, because again, I've got a good player. So yeah, the balance of if you've got money early, it's like I know I hear a lot of people say nominate the players you don't like, but again, I always like doing that. Like now would be a moment when I'm really nominating the players I don't like, because I've already won a player. I've got less money relative to some other teams, but before I win that first player, I do want to be aggressive on. If I've got all my entire cap hit available, that's when I want my favorite players to be nominated, the 101 that I consider. So I've got the most money that I can really push that to its max amount. I feel like I'm worrying less because. Any questions so far?
Questions? I don't know. Thoughts? I have many. What about you, Jamie?
I'm just enjoying this and trying to figure it out myself. I'm glad I'm not in it because my brain would not be able to handle this.
This is like the fantasy football draft equivalent of like an acid trip or something.
So I'm typically looking at two things: the 2025 cap hit and then the number of years, right? Like that's what I'm trying to base my nominations on. Like a guy like Neighbors would, in theory, be a guy I would have wanted to go 4 years on, but as I already used my 4-year contract, he would have been a 3-year only type thing. So, and I guess that's the good idea of getting Jefferson and Lamb and Chase out of the way early, because if you know that's the ideally what you'd want to spend your 4-year contract on. So it's reserved to them.
Yeah, I kind of like that. What can you, maybe for a pick or two, can you take us through like what you were thinking in your head, how you're like approaching it?
Well, typically when I have my sheet, I know what my number is going to be, right? This one without a sheet, I kind of just was guessing, right? So I use every bid that's brought in, every new highest winning bid is new information. Okay, that's what this player went for. That's what this player went for. And I'm kind of trying to that 2025 amount. So now that again I've got the benchmark of Lamb at 56.8 million, I'm seeing this Jahmyr Gibbs contract at 68 million. Like, okay, I'm out at that. Like, I think I've got my guy Lamb at this price. I probably don't want to spend more than on anyone else. So now my new kind of hard cap for any player is probably like 56 million. Mm-hmm. If it's a player I think that's close in price to Lamb, I'm willing to probably go close to that. Like a guy like Nakua, I'd be willing to go pretty close to that Lamb amount. But at a certain point, that's what I'm going to use as my personal benchmark. Even though a guy like Jonathan Taylor went super high, 230. Well, I guess 231 over 4 isn't as bad as some of these other players, but the Puka price getting a little wild.
Yeah. Oh man.
And the other thing too is you can see every other person's team by clicking on them. So like I go to your team, Rahul, and see you just have Justin Jefferson. Let's give Bam some credit, who's been aggressive, winning both Malik Neighbors and Jahmyr Gibbs. So who was just one? It was Nakua, one of the AI computer drones. Amon. Yeah, I think I'd build a team through Amon Ryan. Oh, apparently so would Rahul. We've essentially been almost at the same time. I guess I'm sharing the screen, so I'm especially being transparent because you can see when I'm about to do stuff.
I promise that was of my own volition.
No, for sure. Probably could have maybe did that a little higher, 239 over 4. there's sometimes I let something go, and then I later think, maybe I should have bid that up one more, but then it totally changes the approach, right? You play what if with that, and it kind of really affects everything else going forward. Ryan Thomas Jr., another guy I kind of view in that tier. So this is kind of how the auction approaches, and you kind of go through, and we'll see what these end up being. Right now, it looks like Jesse and I are kind of in a bidding war. I know Jesse's. Oh, and there Rahul entered. I also say, like, you could look at other teams. Like right now, it looks like Bam has spent the most. This team 11, Jonathan Taylor and George Pickens, spent currently the second most in terms of their 2025 cap space. So it's also interesting to see, like, when who's on whose team at which point, like how other teams are built. And sorry, Jesse. Eventually, Jesse's gonna get some. And I know these mocks is they've got a certain limit on number of players that'll be had. So this number here, say player signed. So now this was just the 12th contract signed. So once it hits a certain number, the auction will just end. And there's our cover guy, the thumbnail image for this week, Nico Collins.
I was getting ready to do it myself.
Yeah, we're still a little bit away. Figure we'd have to nominate him right away, or he wouldn't get another chance at him. Like, I guess when talking about Nico Collins, I could talk about how in Money Ballers, which Jamie's background image does pay homage to that, the Moneyball idea. Nico Collins was my franchise tag, and tagging him, I think, was going to be around $33 million for this year, just a one-year thing. But again, I won't be able to extend a player in season in this league, but I use my extension on Nico Collins. And instead of the cap hit this year being the franchise tag number of $33 million, I think it's down at the average was like 32, and I think this year's cap is like 25, 26.
This is what I don't understand. So Barkley is just nominated. People are nominating him for a 3-year, 4-year contract. That's ridiculous.
I agree. I think he would be a guy I'd be willing to just
2 years.
Yeah, 2 to just maybe lower that a little bit. But yeah, that was quite a lot for. I mean, his 4-year contract, I believe, is less than Jonathan Taylor's, for instance.
Also, Brock Bowers, can you sign him for life?
No, just and again, you could, in theory, draft the player and then every year just continue to extend him or tag him every time it comes up. So you could. There are ways to have a player for their whole career, but it does cost you a lot of money. Those extensions aren't cheap, but I do find the tag extensions tend not to get too out of control. The in-season extensions, some of them can be like ridiculously high. You might also luck out, and sometimes you get a player for the minimum extension amount for the in-season.
There you go, Rahul.
2 years, $4 million. So Bowers and Jefferson.
Yay.
So and again, and this is a good point, Rahul, on the team build of deciding to go big on a tight end. So if you have time to explain your process, feel free.
Again, Bowers, I didn't do the due diligence or check whether this is a tight end premium mock, but to support.
I don't think so. I think it's just standard PPR.
Yeah.
And Jesse gets his first player, Devon Achane. And maybe, Jamie, you probably like this, that he just big cap hit for 1 year, right? Like, it just $95 million over 1 year. It's a massive cap hit, but you take it as a 1 year kind of bet. Like, you prefer that than the long term, even if it's a little cheaper on the average.
Yeah, I was just doing for the 1 year. All right, so we got Drake London nominated.
Yeah, I and that's what happened is the team 7 hit something and I clicked immediately after, so it went a little higher than what I was willing to. So I kind of got bailed out by team 6 there.
Ooh, 7 million, yeah.
187 over 3. Because if you look at team 6, they were probably had already used their 4-year contract on Nico Collins. AJ Brown.
So that's someone I'm not really going to target much in Dynasty.
He would be a 1 or 2 year type of thing, but it's already just that first nomination or that first bid up was just a little high. The other thing too, Rahul, that's interesting is you can nominate a player and then bid yourself up with the manual offers. And that tends to happen when you want a super young player, like a rookie or someone that hasn't really broken out yet, that you can get for pretty cheap. But you don't want to just get them, because if you nominate a player, it's automatically 1 year, 500,000.
Right.
And if you want a longer term player, you don't want them just for that 1 year. You want them for. I was gonna say,
like that one, but that's okay.
McConkey almost went for super cheap. That happens sometimes with a quick timer, right? You're thinking you're doing other stuff, assume someone else is gonna do it, and then whoa.
So I see Rahul went for a 3-year, then someone bid a 1 year.
Well, and that's Bam on the 1 year, and let's look at his team right now. At the bottom, I clicked on his team, and he's already used his 4-year contract and one of his 2-year contracts. So he, in theory, could put a 3-year contract on McConkey. Deciding 1 year, opting for the one big bid, maybe wanting to save those longer term contracts for a different position.
Interesting. Okay.
Kind of making me feel like Chase, Jefferson, Lamb have been bargains so far, seeing some of the contracts after.
Yeah, I think as I guess on the per year basis, things have kind of surpassed them. I still think right now Chase is the biggest contract overall.
Yep.
269 and 266. Oh, and Genty went for 181 over 3. It's not bad. Probably better that on the 3-year Genty contract like that than the 1-year H-hand contract for big money.
I know you guys are busy with this, but real quick, my last pick in my best ball, 18th round. Should I go with my boy Roman Wilson or the catching Canuck Alec Ayomanor?
Best ball?
I mean, do you have any stats with do you have Cameron Ward or Aaron Rodgers?
Nope.
I would also say then look at week 17. Like, who are your quarterbacks? Like, who are your big stacks on your team, and do either of them correlate with week 17? Like, do you have any big stacks on your team?
Probably not. That's not important. I got no stacks. Oh, Theo Johnson and Russell Wilson.
This is an interesting one.
So if either of them play the Giants. Bam wondering if he's too aggressive. And right now, Bam has spent the most money. Actually, no, there's a couple of the AIs that have spent Bam. And there you go. And Rahul suddenly gets a quarterback.
Justin Fields, $1 million a year. That feels good.
Yeah, I was debating the 1 year, the 2 year. He did just sign, I think, a 2-year contract, so you could justify going with 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Marvin Harrison Jr.
Bam. I went to I took the catching Canuck.
My hat approves.
He feels like more of a best ball profile than Roman Wilson.
Yeah. Let's go after Marv. Let's try it.
I think Marv is only going to go up in value from here on out. Last year, people
still cheaper than any of these other receivers.
Yeah, like he was considered in the top 5 before he even took a snap.
I'm looking at some of these amounts, and it jigged at 177 over 3. Like, it's still a little less than that. But sorry, Jamie, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, he has to only go up from here. He can't go any farther down. Like, I have him at wide receiver 14, and that seems low to me. I can see him jumping back into the top 5.
What happens if Marv has a wide receiver 20 season?
Almost basically what he just said. It's funny, back-to-back Cardinals.
I mean, at least half PPR. I'm not sure at PPR. He was wide receiver 43. He had, I think it was 3.5 catches per game. I don't know. I think at redraft currently he's been drafted as a mid wide receiver 2. But what happens to his long-term value if, at the end of the day, if he returns as a mid wide receiver 2 in 2025.
Well, see, last year he was wide receiver 30 overall. If he ends up being 20, maybe he jumps into the top 12 for Dynasty.
He's not that far off right now. And I think of like Drake London, right? It took him a few years of sub wide receiver 24 finishes. He was outside the top 2. And then last year he finally hit. And, I think we're all viewing like Drake London as a top 12 Dynasty.
Yeah, I got him in my top 10.
Let's just have some fun and go with Kyler Murray just to have 3 straight cards.
There we go. Trolling the computer.
Well, and I mean, let's see,
like, a stack.
That's the second quarterback off the board. And the first one was Justin Fields, so it's not like the top end elite quarterbacks went off the board. We get some of these younger guys, these second tier guys cheaper. Team 6 didn't let that happen. Super big on Murray, and I'm willing to let the one QB format. I don't want Kyler to be the guy that I bid on. So cheap contracts like you got for Justin Fields, which Rahul that could end up being a steal. Like they kind of lucky to get that guy nominated. I think Jesse was the one who ended up nominating him. You might end up getting a massive bargain on Fields on that cheap.
And what was your contract year? Was it a 1 year for Fields?
It's a 2 year. 2 year.
2 year. Okay.
Yeah, $1 million a year.
I could definitely see him being top. Like I have him honestly like in my top 8 for redraft. I love the guy, man. Top 10 definitely. Just with his rushing upside.
Quarterback again, because why not?
Yeah.
And then who knows if he gets re-signed, if he does awesome, or he goes to another team and does the same exact thing. He's still going to hold value.
He doesn't need like. I could see Justin Fields playing not well enough to be re-signed to the Jets, but still returning a ton of fantasy football value.
Well, I could see him. I don't know. Someone offered me a 2nd round pick for him today. Mm-hmm. And it's the same person that offered me that 4th round and Isaiah Davis. And I was like, dude, you're a middle team. You're going to be – it's going to be the 206, 207, 208. I'm not going to give Fields up for that. Like, give me a late first for Fields. I'm not giving him up any cheaper than a late first.
Because I could certainly see a world in where during the season, Fields is worth the late first. Like,
yes.
I remember advising a friend on a trade a couple of years ago, and it was like, sell Sam Howell for a first, because people were willing to pay that amount for Howell, and now it looks like a steal to have gotten that first for him.
And his comeback was like, what did he say? He's being ridiculous, man. He said, man, I don't know. You got thousands of quarterbacks just sitting there wasting space on your team, turning down an excellent offer. Like, dude, if I had $1,000 in my wallet, I'm not going to give you a bunch of money just for some pennies. So.
I mean, judging from the previous trade he offered you, I think it kind of makes sense. This is the line.
And you got to remember, he took Fields over Cam Ward in a Superflex startup. So that makes me think he values him at the 101 to 102.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to give up a mid-second for him. So I got 1,000 quarterbacks. I should just give them away. You get a quarterback. You get a quarterback.
Yeah, I completely missed the last few picks. Kyle, you're on mute, by the way.
Bam just took Derrick Henry 1 year contract. I kind of like that. That's how I was going to approach Derrick.
Yeah,
Henry.
I love it.
$61.5 million.
That's actually pretty cheap, isn't it?
Compared to Javon Achan getting 95 over 1 year, right? Like it's, so yeah,
I'd rather have Henry for 1 year.
Fair enough.
Over the Achan.
And that is one thing where I noticed, like, running back rankings might change in RSO because you can cost control it and say, I'm just going to invest a 1 year contract. You can sort of push those win now running backs, and the way you sign the contract in terms of the term, that can kind of determine that. Right? you're more willing to spend the 3-year contracts. The guy's still on their rookie deals. Yeah. Like even a guy like Kyron technically is still on his rookie contract, but it's the last year of his rookie contract. So I'd ideally want to just get him for a 1-year deal. Now, if anyone's seen on the screen, his 1-year deal would have been $74 million. As a little
I would take
there
that.
for Kyron. Oh, okay.
I hate Kyron, and I would take that.
I'm still, again, I've set myself with this hard cap on my team. I guess I'll put my team back up again. Now that like CeeDee Lamb got 56 this year, I don't really think I want to spend more than 56 on any other player. Garrett Wilson, however, he might be the last guy in this wide receiver tier. So I'm going to, again, try and like all my long-term contracts towards, in this case, Lamb, Harrison, and Wilson. Like those are my 4 long-term contracts. Then I kind of maybe have to, I probably don't want too much wide receiver depth now that I've pushed myself into 3 elite receivers, at least in terms of elite pricing. I'm going to approach the rest of my receivers like depth receivers are going to have to be really cheap. And I'm probably going to spend most of the rest of my funds on the other positions. But now I'm also limited to just 1- and 2-year contracts, having spent, again, my 3 longest term contracts on those positions. But I just wanted to look at like one of the teams that had spent the most money. I guess it is Bam at this point. What does spending the most money get you? Jahmyr Gibbs, Derrick Henry, Malik Neighbors. Pretty high salary for Gibbs. But again, like Devon Achan's going to be making more this year, so it's not excessively high necessarily. So yeah, I like being aggressive. And I know Bam's a Ravens fan, and one of our trades of the week, I think we featured here, was me giving up Derrick Henry for a first. Could that have been our first episode, guys? I don't know if you remember that far back.
Wait, which episode?
Well, it might be episode 1 where I believe I presented a trade of the week that I had done Derrick Henry for a first-round pick. Maybe I didn't do that, but I thought I did. It was maybe one of our first episodes. That was a trade that involved Bam. So we know Bam puts his money where his mouth is. It's not just in this mock. I've seen firsthand he's willing to go buy Derrick Henry and pay market price for him.
Brees
Hall.
First round. Yeah. Oh, I want to see where Brees Hall goes.
Jamie's going to say buy him.
Yeah, I would buy Brees Hall.
I'm thinking I would just want to do it on a 1-year deal, and it is close on the last one. I almost clicked it, but now it's gone up to $60 million.
Well, is he on his contract year? I think
so. This will be this is the 4th year of that rookie contract, and he's a second rounder, so he doesn't have a 5th-year option. So.
Exactly. So 1 year is good enough for me.
Yeah, I know I'm seeing some 3-year offers. Jesse offered, I guess his initial offer of 3 years was really cheap. Good for you, Jesse. Always make sure, right? Like, don't let anyone just get anyone for free, essentially. Make everyone pay. And yeah, big payment for Brees Hall, 158 over 3. That's exactly what T. Higgins just went for. Okay, there's an interesting comparison. The exact same contract, Brees Hall versus T. Higgins. How would you feel about
that? Brees Hall versus Higgins. Give me Brees.
Cool. How are you feeling?
Uh-oh. Did we lose Rahul?
I think we did, and I didn't let him back in. Sorry. Rahul, you good?
Oh. Yes, I am here. I was temporarily lost, but great timing because I would not take Brees Hall in those trades. I'd take T. Higgins, and I can't remember the other one.
Well, that's what it was. Just because they both went for the same contract. They were both signed for 158 over 3.
I would say the Brees Hall tune has changed on the Twitter sphere, though. There was, maybe it was a little bit split earlier, but I feel like people are coming back in on Brees in recent weeks or so. Not me, though. Not me.
Yeah, there was someone in the chat asking where that good-looking guys went.
He's still not back.
In the private chat.
He's not back.
Oh, Jamie's off screen now. I'm so focused on the auction, I have no idea what's actually happening on the stream.
I'm still here.
Comments. Okay. Yeah. I guess James Cook. He's another guy that, just like Brees Hall, final year of his rookie deal. So
yeah,
I'm hesitant to give anything more than the 1 year because we don't really know. He might end up in a committee next year, and if you give him on a 2-year contract at his current value, that could be really overpriced going into next year. So
that he's been having issues. Like he wants a contract extension. I don't think they're going to give it to him. So what if he holds out? And I just don't like James Cook this year. I'm staying away.
he's like I'd rather have Breece Hall. Clearly, I guess you'd rather have Kyron, right?
I would honestly over
I would
James
too.
Cook. Yeah.
The one guy from a dynasty, if in a dynasty startup, I'm debating James Cook, Jonathan Taylor, right? Because
Dude,
okay,
Taylor
Cook,
all day. What do you mean?
the argument being that Cook is still technically on his rookie contract, and with the running back age usage years, him being younger enough than Taylor is enough to make me push that. But that's kind of
But don't you want to win? Like, did you see what Jonathan Taylor
Apparently not.
did? Well, like when Jonathan
Well-
Taylor came back from his injury last year, like it takes about 4 to 5 weeks to actually heal from a high ankle sprain. And when he actually came back fully healthy, he won people championships. Week 16, 17, even 15. So I just see it again. I see him going forward, getting those 20
week
plus
15.
points
I don't
again.
know. There was that goal line fumble where he just dropped the ball before running in, and like I definitely know I saw some people that lost their matchups by 2, 3, 4 points, whatever it was. And, I guess it's like an 8-point swing, right? Because you don't get the 6 point for the touchdown and you lose 2 points for the fumble. So if you lost your matchup by 8, like he legit cost you by just dropping the ball. So if he didn't cost you though, he rewarded you with monster performances in 16, 17. You're totally right about that, JT, baby.
Yeah, but if you still can't win with like a 12-point game from your running back, that means your other players on your team weren't good enough to balance that out.
Well, if they all had 12-point games and none of them spiked, right? Like that's what happens with playoffs, right? Zay Flowers, decent. I think if I hadn't already spent big on 3 receivers, that's a 173.5 over 3. That was at 50 million, 52 million. I think was the 2-year contract for the 2025 cap hit.
I like Zay Flowers. He's being very underrated. Number 1 target on his offense. You have to put him in your top 20 to 24. So he's a great number 2 receiver. And he's only going to be 25 years old. So still got like 4 or 5 years left.
Josh Jacobs going right now. Sorry, who are we talking about, Jamie?
Zay Flowers?
Flowers, right? Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, for sure. I do think he's tends to be underrated in Dynasty. And Josh Jacobs going on a 2-year contract.
Uh-oh.
Joe Burrow.
Interesting.
Yeah, it does feel like Fields is going to be the steal of the draft, seeing how these quarterbacks are going.
I was thinking about that.
That was great.
Slick.
I love Fields, man.
Like Rahul. I should have been more aggressive there. Good job. Yeah, I think I want to hold back. I'm already pretty heavily invested with the $50 million receivers, so probably not pushing running backs either to those amounts. Flex spots to use. Yeah, just the 2 wide receivers, 2 flex. So any receiver I would pay at this point would just be a bench receiver. So I like Addison, and I think I'm going to like a lot of these guys that get nominated. I've already kind of pinned myself into a corner going so heavily early at wide receiver. Maybe the Wilson one was too much. Maybe even the Harrison one was too much. Maybe I should have held lower, but I don't know. I've got both those guys ranked as top 15 wide receivers in Dynasty, just kind of on the borderline of being wide receiver ones. So when I see it, I'll start a team off with 3 top 15 wide receivers and hope the rest works out. Still hoping. A bit more balance to some of these other teams, I got to say. Rahul, you've got kind of an elite quarterback, elite tight end, maybe an elite quarterback, elite fantasy producing quarterback when he's a starter, elite tight end, elite receiver. You've kind of got a more balanced roster at this point, just at the top end. And you've done it by spending $50 million less than me. Again, Fields is pretty cheap.
I'm just clicking the buttons, man.
And that's some of it too. Is I've seen people make mistakes with the manual offers going too high, and you're stuck with a player at a really big cap hit. You were thinking 30 over 3 and forgot to click 3, and you gave him a $30 million. I guess relative to what we've seen today, 30 million isn't that big. But let's say you're trying to do something where it was like 90 million over 3, and you accidentally went 90 over 1. That kind of hurts that 1 year cap. So I've seen people make more mistakes with the nomination clock than the manual. The manual offer clock than anything else, really.
I'm trying to at least for this first one take as much as the user error out of the experience.
Although to be fair, sometimes you learn through error, right? So this, in theory, would be the time to experiment with the manual offers and see, because it doesn't matter if you make a mistake.
True. Okay.
I almost wonder, like, how much would it cost, like, if you do like a big money league like this, how much would it cost to like hire Paul D. Potesta? Is that his name? That Moneyball genius?
Oh yeah.
Like,
The
how much would
Cleveland
it
Browns.
cost him?
I don't think he's the GM anymore. I think he's the president for the Browns.
Or even Jonah Hill, the guy that played him.
Yeah.
Like, how much would it cost him to like actually draft with you, or just get like another Yale economics graduate and
for a whole draft? Because I think you can do like have you guys heard of like Cameo? You can get like famous people like record like a 20-second video, and it's usually like $300 for 20 seconds.
If you want to pay me $300, I'll give you like a 20-second cameo.
Like you can get like Scott Hansen to like record a message and send, and that's like a $300 thing.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm in a league where we consider taking or like adding that to like the pot or like the buy-in or something to do it. Would have been fun, but we did not. We did not do that way.
So this is a very interesting draft we got going on here. I would like to review some of these teams afterwards if we have time.
Sure, we'll see. And I mean, we can end like we don't have to be streaming the whole mock draft before it cuts off and ends. We can just decide to end it too.
Because we also have a trade of the week that we also want to talk about. So
may or may not involve a Canadian player. May or may not be the current player that we're nominating right now. Hey, look at that. Oh. That sucks. When you think you've won them and got to get that red line. They call it on MFL when that tends to be more for like 24-hour drafts. In the last hour, the clock goes red. The timer. It's awful, apparently, when people nominate on you and when the number's red. Like, oh, you're supposed to do it before it went red, apparently. All right, so I've spent a lot of money now. I think I might have actually spent the most out of everyone. Okay, Team 6 has...
Let's look at Team 6. Oh, and Team 12 as well.
Well, Team 6 decided to go with 2 quarterbacks, price and force. So even though it's a 1 QB league, they got Burrow and Hurts. Collins, Drake, London, Smith, and Jigba. So they went with the 3 $50 million receivers like I did, but then also spent $90 million on 2 quarterbacks. So.
Wow.
I love the first part of the build, not so much the second part. I'm okay, especially spending big on Hurts for the rushing upside. And that's actually not a bad contract for McLaurin. Affordable than what we've been seeing. This is our first... Oh, no, we've had Ashton Genty earlier, but I guess this is our second rookie to come up as Ted Rowe and McMillan, so interesting to see. And so far, the Genty contract wasn't that outrageous. Like, that actually looked pretty good. So we'll see what happens with the other rookies. Yeah, so Bam and I are basically about at the same amount of cap hit, so maybe we are being too aggressive, Bam, but this is where you learn from it, right? So,
you know what I think? Sorry, Jamie. I just wanted to say about the manual offer. I think the manual offer is the total amount over the number of years.
Yeah, it's not the per year offer. I think it's the total.
Kind of test that guy out there.
Did it work? Is this
All right.
Did you use the manual offer for that one?
I used the manual offer and won that one. Yeah.
And you've got Ted Rowe McMillan.
Good job.
That's your wide receiver 2, I guess.
That's right? My wide receiver 3. I got Rashee Rice and a
Rice.
steal.
Oh, good.
Wow.
Let's look at Team Small
Wow.
Talk.
So you have 3 top 20 wide receivers on your team, and
Yeah.
one of them
Bowers.
is like the top guy, and you got
Uh-huh.
Bowers. Dude,
Yeah.
you're gonna crush this, dude.
Yeah, too bad none of this
got
actually matters, and you're not actually scoring any points for this team. But good job, Rahul.
Let's convert this guy over.
So we got Bam in the chat again, Kyle.
Yeah, he's glad he's learning now and not Sunday.
Right, Bam. Absolutely.
Which, again, I thought this was get everyone on the equal footing, right? Because the 3 of you that are also in this auction with me, Rahul, Bam, and Jesse, like all 3 of you are new to RSO. So far, the only other person is D, host of the Speak On It podcast, co-host there on the 2 Live Network, which is all our home still, much as our we have multiple homes. You got the summer home, you got the other home right here at Fantasy Six Pack and at Going for Two. But yeah, he's a great guy. So he's so far now the only one who wouldn't have experienced this. But the beauty thing is anyone can set up a mock draft at any point. You can just mock on your own, even if it's just with AI as the other managers. We've gone up on McCaffrey.
So I actually just I met someone in the past week that does these a lot, and he sent me a video. I believe I shared it to you guys about how this works, and it's confusing to me. If I actually put time into it, I think I would crush at these drafts. So maybe I need to start looking into these more. Oh, we lost Rahul again. Oh no.
All right. Well, he's next to nominate too, so I hope he set a queue. If not, it looks like Adunze is the next guy in the queue. Well, I guess I have the next nomination. So I went with George Kittle. Now this I'm going to get to kind of like my typical nomination strategy, which is just keep going with tight ends until someone just lets me get one for 500,000. So it'll be a while. Eventually, the money will run out.
I wouldn't even mind getting one of those rookie guys, like a Ferguson, Mason Taylor.
Sure. If they're
like
cheap
that.
enough, right? Like relative to other players, if they're going a lot cheaper, then yeah, for sure.
Because honestly, I
Kittle goes for 77 over 2. Which you look at the other tight ends, 91 over 2 for Laporta, so it's a little bit less for Kittle. Sorry, Jamie, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say I'll save it for the hot take show if we ever do one. But I think Mason Taylor this year can end up being a top 12 tight end just because of the targets in that offense. Who are they going to? Garrett Wilson. Yes. After that, Josh Reynolds is getting buzz as the number 2.
I mean, Alan Lazard could still be the number 2.
Alan Lazard, but you're gonna need the funnel passes through the tight end, and we all know how Justin Fields loves to use his tight end. So why can't Mason Taylor be a top 12? You never know.
I would say it's just the overall passing volume. Like, okay, his target share will be decent, but the overall targets might not be great. And of course, Rahul nominates Brandon Ayuk. You just have to, right, for the brand, and that's why. Bam's point. You love the draft because any player can come up at any point. Like what draft you seen where Jonathan Taylor is the first guy nominated? The guy wearing the shirt.
Wow, man! You know he's going to be out like half the year, right?
Some of the
now,
news
to this
since
point,
then.
I kind of like what Jesse's doing and getting him on the 2-year, thinking that even if you pay a lot for Ayuk this year, you're probably not getting your money's worth, but maybe next year you do, right? And so the idea of if he's probably going to produce better next year than he does this year coming off the injury.
You just jumped up from 24 to 39 million.
Well, that's 39 over 2.
Right? 2.
Oh.
So did you see what the 2025 cap it was, Rahul?
19.
Right? So by doing that, and I like that, right? Like it's $5 million less than what it would have been on a 1-year deal, but then you also get the benefit of that second year probably being better anyway, so you'd rather roster him. So Ayuk's the kind of guy that I would prefer to go at least 2 years, I think.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, you're wasting half a 1-year contract anyway with him injured / ramping up. I think I've used up all of my multi-year contracts already.
But you've also got a pretty solid team, I think, and yet like I still have some multi-year contracts, and you have more money than me. I believe, yeah. Looks like all 6-year multi-year contracts are up. Justin Fields, Brock Bowers, Justin Jefferson, Rashi Rice, Tedaro McMillan, and Brandon Ayuk.
A very Rahul.
So still no running back, and I guess you're just saying it's going to be 1-year contracts for the running backs, which is a viable way to go about it, right? You're just building year to year at the running back position.
So seeing it, some of the 1-year contracts, then at least, I mean, things will slow down as the auction goes on, as PTs have less money, but there's a lot of factors at play here. There's a lot of information, hitting the brain at once.
Yeah, no, for sure. Kraft up next.
Dalton Kincaid went on a really good contract for
13 and a half over 1. Like that was, it's to try and get some of these tight ends out earlier. They might go for cheaper. People holding money to save for someone later, potentially. Tucker Kraft, 21.5 over 1. So yeah, I'd rather spend the Kincaid contract for sure. Rome Odunze.
Ooh, interesting.
Is it just me, or Kyle, if you scroll down to the end of the overview page, what were you were trying? Would you just search up every other player, or?
Yeah, there's a search function here.
Uh-huh.
Again, you can also filter by position. You see how I'm doing here?
I
think he might have saw it, but we don't know. The Call of the Wild. All right, Roma Dunze, 80.5 over 2. I guess that first year will be less than 40 million. Not bad, I think. But Patrick Mahomes, interested to see this. And it looks like my co-hosts have left me, so all on my own here. At this point, Mahomes is cheap enough. Maybe this is where make the manual offer jumped it up a little bit. Okay, didn't jump it up that much. Oh crap! And that's the risk sometimes that you see happen is I did not mean to click that for Mahomes. Luckily, someone bailed me out. I'll let someone else deal with that.
That certainly happened to me earlier in this draft where misclick has been bailed out.
You think you're clicking at a certain amount, and then someone went in with just about, because sometimes you click it and you do it so close that it won't register. It'll just say, "Oh, you're not the highest bidder."
Yeah.
Which you hope that happens. Like, okay, good. But then sometimes it's just enough of a delay that it registers and it changes the contract amount just as you're about to click.
I think it'll be interesting with the all human managers. I mean,
For sure,
you can speak to this, but at least one thing here is like some of the AI teams just bidding up by quite a huge increment. Like,
yeah, they've got an amount. This player should go for this amount minimum, so they're going to immediately get to that amount. Mm-hmm. Part of it is to make it go quicker, I think, too. We probably wouldn't get through 55 players in less than an hour if it was all just humans.
Yeah.
Yeah, that Ken Walker amount wasn't too bad. Maybe. I don't know.
It's hard to say. I need a way to. I'm already learning for the draft, and I need a way to like a more active way of keeping track of past contracts.
For sure. That's why I print out the sheet as well, and I pen and paper write it down.
Yeah,
it's that much quicker. I down next to the amounts that I was going to bid on them. That's the easy comparison look to.
Yeah,
I definitely recommend. Yeah, it's a lot to keep track of if all these tabs. We're also hosting a show here at the Six Pack. We're dedicated to the viewers and the listeners, even through this mock. So we'll give them our full attention. Jalen Waddle. after Jameson Williams, or cover boy from last week's thumbnail. 77 over 2 years. Man, Team 10 getting all the players recently. So far, it looks like Jesse has the most money. So if Jesse wanted to, he could kind of bully the rest of the league. If there's a player that he was saving up for, Jesse's in the best position to just go and get him. Well, I know what Jesse's going to do. Jesse's a Packers fan. He probably wants to just spend whatever it takes to get Devontae Adams. Sorry to give away the strategy, Jesse. It might not be that. He might have another player in mind. Who has he won so far? I think he's got a couple. Just about HM. Which I suppose at this point, that doesn't look as bad now, that because he hasn't spent a lot of other money, like he still has so much left over that you can kind of afford to. I guess that's what it took to get one player for Jesse, was to overspend on HM. Is he worthy of me putting on a big bid?
Why not? Why not?
Well, the why
For
not
the viewers. For the viewers.
It took too long. Yeah. I think the why not would also be just, he is just a bench player. I still want to kind of save what I need to for a potential quarterback, which I suppose this would be the guy here, Herbert. Wait and see. Maybe that Herbert amount might end up looking like a steal relative to some of these other quarterback pricing. Chris Olave. Now, is this the kind of guy you only want to put on a 1-year contract because of the volatility with his health?
I would you too. Because, I mean, he is a talented player, and if he does blow up this year, I think you can have him for next year also.
Yeah, finally get.
It's also a big QB draft coming up. You could kind of like sell on like a certain QB upgrade.
Well, yeah, because Saints are going to be like bottom 5 teams in the league.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to get one of those top quarterbacks.
We assume they will. All right, so the auction's over. So then they get whatever amount of contracts that was Chris Olave ended it. So that's an RSL auction.
Very
If there's
interesting.
anything else to say?
I'm certainly very grateful we did this episode, and thank you very much, Kyle, for kind of providing the overview commentary. First experience in the auction room, definitely the takeaway is a lot of different pieces of information coming at me. So I'm certainly looking to grind the auction sheet in the next couple of days. Viewers, if you haven't watched that episode, go watch our first auction episode, because I understand now, viewing through the lens that sheet provides you, how critical it could be in these kinds of situations when like the numbers are flying fast and everything.
Especially with these 10-second timers, you want to know a quick, okay, what is my max? Are we at my max?
Mm-hmm.
Actually, Jamie, one thing you mentioned is you wanted to go through some of the teams.
Yeah, I just want to see how they turned out, and if there's any values. Are they competing? Are they building for the future?
Yeah, and obviously we have incomplete teams, but we can look at mine to start. I just, again, ended up with the 3 big wide receivers: CeeDee Lamb, Marvin Harrison Jr., Garrett Wilson.
Oh my God, I love that. And
then Chase Brown. And then the thought would be my running back 2 and my quarterback tight end. Like those I'm spending a little bit less on.
Mm-hmm.
That's the core of the team there, essentially.
And then
all the the longer multi-year deals are on the receivers. Chase Brown with a 2-year contract. In theory, maybe the quarterback on a 2-year, maybe another running back on a 2-year, and then, you use the 2-year on a quarterback, the other 2-year on another running back. Like that's probably how I would approach it.
And there's tons of tight end values: Hawkinson, Njoku, Andrews, Ingram.
And you see this is my nomination list. So I was just going to keep going until someone was going to let me get a tight end for cheap or free. And eventually you keep doing it long enough. Everyone's got 1 or 2 tight ends already rostered. They have no interest in using up another roster spot on a tight end, even if it's just $1 million. But it's the roster spot that costs more than the cap hit. So they'll just let him go, and you'll get one for $500,000.
Mhm.
The advantage of the $500,000 contracts is that there's no guarantees, so you can cut a $500,000 contract with no dead cap. So even if you're up against the cap, or you have a minimum contract, you can cut that contract to then pick up your next player, and you can, even if you can't really bid up beyond the minimum, you can always just still maintain that, just by cutting minimums. As soon as you go more than 500,000, though, that contract is essentially fully guaranteed for this year. So you don't save any money by cutting those players if they're not on minimum contracts. So which is why I like to do that, punt tight end far enough, because I'm also thinking like that tight end I have, I wanted the flexibility of being able to cut them and using it to save some money. So I also like just, again, keep nominating the tight ends until you get one. You will notice that on Sunday, Rahul, I guarantee you. Bam will apparently control his spending on Sunday. Again, better reference point, better viewpoint of what these contracts are going to be. And just because these amounts in here were a thing doesn't mean it's going to be really what those amounts are in real life. Look at Rahul's team, maybe. Jamie, is that what you want to check out?
Yeah.
Again, he's got more positional balance. Justin Fields, super cheap. Brock Bowers, and then 4 receivers. Jefferson, Rice, McMillan, and Ayuk.
I love them all except for that Ayuk pick. I don't know.
I like the contract being 2 years, and it's not too expensive. Just $19 million for a cap hit.
Exactly.
Ideally, what you would do is actually you can throw them on injured reserve. And we have in our league, we're going to have one designated to return injured reserve spot. So I think it's after 4 weeks on injured reserve, you can bring up one player back through the season who's on IR. So what I would probably recommend doing is after the auction, Ayuk goes on to IR, and suddenly you have that $19 million to play with on waivers afterwards, or waivers through the season. You could make trades that way. And if ever Ayuk comes back and you think I can use him end of season, you can use that designated to return spot and bring him back, or you just keep him on IR the whole year, and you only have, I guess it would be like a $9.5 million cap hit for this year. You continue to get him on your team next year when you think he's healthy. So that'd be kind of one mechanism to just temporarily save a bit of money with Ayuk. So I don't hate the contract.
You get you only have to pay. Sorry, Jamie. Just about that, you'll pay half the cap hit if they're on IR.
Yeah, exactly.
I see.
You know, it'd be really fun if we were actually like billionaires and we could actually put up the money.
This is the real money we were playing with. Yeah.
Yes. And then like the winner of the league gets I don't know, whatever,
279 million, and all of it's like, oh yeah, it's just pocket change because we're all billionaires. Yeah, that'd be amazing to just have 279 million just lying around to play with. Yeah.
How fun would that be?
Amazing. Couldn't even imagine. We'd still be here podcasting probably because we just do more of it, right? Because we wouldn't have to worry about jobs or anything.
Right.
Sounds like a dream. Even if we put $1 to each $1 million, like this is going to be way too expensive for my taste.
$279, right? You're spending, yeah, for sure.
Oh, that's actually not that bad.
Now, Bam's team, Bam went with like not quite robust RB because there's only 2, but pay up big for Gibbs and Derrick Henry, and then still put him in league neighbors on the 4-year contract. I actually really like that deal. It looks pretty similar to the CeeDee Lamb contract I signed, so definitely like that, Bam. And then, Bam was pretty active early, and then because he spent so much was.
But why does it say remaining value 0?
So, Henry? Because this is remaining value every year after 2025. Since it's just a 1-year contract, that there is no remaining value after 2025.
Makes sense.
Agent. So Gibbs will have on Gibbs' 2-year contract, we get to see the cap hit of both years. It's 85.5 this year. It'll be basically 89 million next year. With Neighbors, it's 56 this year, and then 200.85 million the remaining 3 years combined.
Wow, that's crazy. $150 million just next year for Neighbors.
Well, no, that's 150 million over 3 years because the years remaining is 4.
My bad.
Right, so that one is a 4-year. So it'll be slightly more than this year's cap hit. It'll probably approach 60 million. It'll be above 60 million in years 3 and 4.
So that seems like a good deal to me.
Now Jesse only got Devon Achane with, to be fair, probably one of the highest cap hits of this year at 95 million.
little too
In theory, though,
expensive.
he would he still has a ton of money to fill the rest of his roster. So you maybe don't hate doing something like that, knowing that you're probably not going to tag him next year and extend him. You're just going to let him go to auction and see what happens. So I don't hate that from Jesse's perspective, in that the sense that he still has tons of money that he can still build the rest of his roster. Now, Team 5 spent quite a bit. So we got James Cook, Josh Jacobs, Ken Walker, Saquon Barkley. So they went pretty aggressive on the running backs and a lot of multi-year contracts. A 3-year deal on James Cook, 4-year on Saquon. I think we like that a little less. Rounded up with Higgins and Waddle. Pretty big cap hits.
Yeah, I don't really like that.
Well, and this is the thing. This is very much a studs and scrubs kind of finish, because now they have $14.7 million to fill their quarterback, their tight end, and 10 bench spots. So you're basically going minimum price for the whole rest of the team. Again, that's what like an aggressive scrubs and dubs kind of the team looks like. Actually, let's go to this team. Team 8 had only 10 million left. Big money on Josh Allen, Bucky Irving, Bijan Robinson. Paid for George Kittle, Metcalf, and Worthy as the wide receivers. Maybe do you like this a little better, Jamie, just because it's balanced between all the positions, even though you are spending quite a lot on a QB and a 1 QB league?
I mean, that's like more of like a win now team.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. You're going after Josh Allen, going after Bijan and Bucky immediately.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And George Kittle is supposed to younger tight ends. Yeah, definitely win now.
So I do like this roster a lot.
We don't have to explore through every team, but anything else you guys want to talk about?
I think we should do the trade of the week, because we're coming up on almost 2 hours, right? Or no, hour and a half.
We're at an hour and 16. Yeah, we should be able to get trade of the week done within an hour and a half. So yeah, let's do it right now.
Let's do it.
The trade of the week. And since we've looked so much at Reality Sports Online, went back to one of my rookie drafts, the Money Ballers draft. Again, my oldest RSO league. This is year 11.
Wow,
pretty crazy that this league's existed for 11 years. And
there's people that are listening to this podcast that haven't even been playing for 11 years. So
there might even be people listening that haven't even been born that long. So
yeah,
we may have
going.
So
I'll have to curb the swearing.
Fantasy football, folks. But yes, so this happened back in the rookie draft. So this happened like a month and a half ago, to be fair. But still, we never did end up discussing it. So I thought this might be a good time to bring it on. So 10-team league, start 12, however. And I guess one thing I didn't mention here is how restrictive the starting spots are. You have to start 3 running backs every week. You have to start 4 wide receivers every week.
Ooh, interesting.
And it is super flex. Including the super flex, there's only 3 flex spots. So in theory, if you're using a super flex spot on a quarterback, there's really only 2 flex spots in the league. So just pretty restrictive relative to what you see in a lot of other leagues. Again, having to start minimum 3 running backs and minimum 4 wide receivers. It's a half PPR league, and tight ends get a full point per reception.
Love it.
But yeah, the trade is 202 and 306 for Chase Brown and the 26th third. Do you want me to reveal who those rookie picks ended up being on the one side?
Yes.
Yeah.
So the 202 ended up being Tyler Warren. And the pick was traded. I did wait till the pick was on the clock to trade it. Thinking, oh wait, I already
fair enough.
The manager waited until the pick was on the clock to maximize the value. 306 ended up being Shedeur Sanders. To the credit of the manager who traded for the 202, they actually ended up trading away the 306 to get, I think, a couple future thirds. So they didn't pick Sanders, but yeah, Tyler Warren on one pick, Shedeur Sanders on the other. And like I said, Chase Brown and a 26th third on the other side. Knowing that Chase Brown is on a rookie contract, 2 years, and that's the one advantage of these rookie contracts is that they are cost controlled. And because he was like, I think, a 3rd rounder, he might have even been a 4th rounder in our rookie draft. His cap hit this year is like less than $2 million.
Wow.
So it's super cheap. Relative to, again, we just saw how big, massive some of the contracts get.
Let me ask you
for reference sake, we saw this auction, because that was our auction sheet episode a couple weeks ago. We saw Henry and Kamara go for like 57 million, over 50 million. So like that's like those are the highest cap hits in the league. Reference sake. So yeah, now that I've given all that context, what do you guys think?
So it's not tight end premium, right?
It is, yeah.
Oh, it is tight end premium.
Half PPR tight ends get a full point.
And how much is the Tyler Warren contract?
Man.
I'll look that up right now. I'm thinking that it's probably around 3 million, 4 million. Maybe
Okay,
guess
so
from the
it's
five.
pretty cheap as well. It's like in the same ballpark as the Chase Brown, where there's not that much of a
Yeah,
trade-off.
cost control to a certain extent.
Man, this is tough because I honestly like. I look at this. I don't want anything to do with Shitter Sanders. But
The
that
guy who traded didn't get Shador though. He traded that away.
Yeah, so that's what you could say is like 2 future thirds instead of Shador.
Yeah.
So wait, it's pretty much Tyler Warren, Shitter Sanders for Chase Brown, and next year's third.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, Warren's cap it this year. I looked up. It's 2.54 million.
So
it's
there's not much
No.
trade off in the money then, I
Yeah,
guess.
they are pretty cheap. Yeah.
So, like money aside, if I was looking at this, I'd say it was a pretty even trade with it being a tight end premium because
Right.
I would rather have Tyler Warren over Chase Brown. But that Shitter Sanders, why would they pick that? Like, who else was there? Who else could they have taken other than Shitter Sanders?
Well, I will pull up the auction board right now. So immediately after Sanders went 306, we had Elijah Arroyo, Woody Marks, Tyler Shuck. Yeah, the fact that you take Sanders over Shuck is
Wow.
pretty surprising.
Yeah, I would have rather had Shuck. Honestly.
Jalen Royals, that's what ended the third round. And then everyone who was available in the fourth round. A lot of running backs. Jalen Blue, Jarquez Hunter, Trevor Etienne, Devin Neal, DJ Giddens, Ollie Gordon. Cashing Canuck was there, Alec Manor.
Still,
I probably
Xavier-
take all those guys over.
I'm assuming Jamie would not take Xavier Restrepo, who was the 407. I imagine he would still take Sanders at that point. Pat Bryan also went in the fourth, but yeah,
is it super
to be
flex,
fair,
right?
it is a super flex.
Yeah.
There is a lot of guys I would have
Yes.
taken over Sanders.
So, I mean, the fact that he took Shitter Sanders, this was a bad trade for the Tyler Warren owner. So I'm going to have to go.
Just
He
to
didn't,
added
he didn't take
context,
Shador.
Yeah. The guy who got I just posted the trade as I made the trade. So after this trade was made, the person who got the 202 and Tyler Warren, they traded away the 306. Someone gave them, I think they might have traded down in the draft and then got a future third. I think is what happened.
That's tough. I'm not a big Chase Brown believer. I think he's going to get replaced eventually, very soon. Man, this is tough because
I guess Jamie,
Tyler Warren.
what I think would push you towards the Tyler Warren side, you would just have not taken Sanders at 306, but like you would have.
Yeah, if you would have taken Tyler Shuck over Shitter Sanders, I would have went with that side heavily.
Now, I think what might also just push you towards that side is Tyler Warren will have 4 more years on his contract. Like this is the start of his rookie contract, whereas Chase Brown only has 2 years left.
So I'm gonna have to go with the Tyler Warren side, even though I do not like the Shitter Sanders pick.
I think generally I pretty much agree with you, Jamie. I think it's a very even trade. If we didn't talk about who the pick was for, and it is Chase Brown for the 202, I'd be very happy buying Chase Brown at that price. Chase Brown for Tyler Warren in a tight end premium, I think that is pretty fair. Definitely been rising on Tyler Warren as we kind of seem to understand it's going to be Daniel Jones rather than Anthony Richardson under center, and they've been raving about him in OTAs. But I really do like the idea of getting Chase Brown on a $2 million, a very minimal seeming, like a rookie cost control contract, when you can kind of imagine, like you gave the context of Henry 55 million, Kamara like 50-ish million. Chase Brown should, I think for me, like at the very least, score as much as Alvin Kamara next year. So from that point, I think Chase Brown.
Alvin Kamara is one of the best pass catching running backs in the league, and they don't have receivers in that offense.
They also don't have a quarterback.
Yeah, what is it like? Chase Brown, I think, outscored Alvin Kamara last year.
Really?
So,
Pretty sure he did.
Yeah.
So, I'm just saying in the Scott Fish Bowl settings, Alvin Kamara was like a top 10 running back, and Chase Brown wasn't even close to him.
Mistake by the drafters.
But then again, this isn't the Scott Fishbowl settings.
Yeah.
Either, right? This is just
Well,
a half PPR league.
I'm in Scott Fishbowl mode, so you have to consider.
But again, I think the reason you like the trade of you like Tyler Warren so much and you get the full 4 years of his rookie contract, that probably justifies it. And then I would say if you went with what that manager actually did, and what they actually got is, again, they flipped that 306, and I looked it up. They got a 26 third, a 27 third, and they got the 5th round this year. I got to look back to see what they took.
So honestly, I like the Chase Brown side if you're only getting him for 2 years, because I think this year he's going to smash. Next year, if they do bring in another rookie to outproduce him, it's going to take him a little bit of time. So he's going to smash again. So I'm going to go with the Chase Brown side.
Okay. So I did give up the 202 to get Brown. And again, I mentioned earlier, I waited till the 202 was on the clock to kind of maximize the value, but I definitely saw Chase Brown's cheap contract. Okay. Less than 2 million. That's probably what I want to spend this pick on. Again.
Yeah.
The start 3 running backs, the struggle is real with that. Especially in a half PPR league where those the people who have multiple running backs, they're flexing them so much that they have 5 or 6 running backs, they still don't feel like they fully have enough. That's the threshold of having enough. You don't have excess. You don't feel like you can give any away. So it's really tough to get running backs. Also, the context of this manager took over an orphan last year. So this is year 2 of them building. And admittedly, the team was not in great shape when they took it over. So they know it's kind of meant to be a rebuilding type thing, a little longer term. So a guy like Chase Brown, you probably don't like on that long-term rebuild. The clock's already ticking. Still has 2 years left on his rookie contract. This lets him reset the total. Because if you look at the total number of years in this trade, there's 8 years of rookie contract deals on the just pick side, whereas there's only 6 years total on the Chase Brown side. And then again, for him to go and flip the 306 for 3 extra picks. Now one of those picks, the 307 that he got in this trade, the 407 was Xavier Restrepo. So you probably don't love that much better than Shedeur, but it's the fact that there's now 2 extra thirds in the future on that team as well. So from that perspective, they turned Chase Brown and a future third into another future third, so that nullifies it. So essentially 2 years of Chase Brown to get Warren with 4 years, Restrepo at 4 years, and the 27 third, when you actualize that as another 4 years, you turned 2 years of contract into 12 years of contracts, just essentially like that, right? So from that perspective, it does make a lot of sense, especially knowing their team context is more rebuild. But as a win now team, I did feel like this was maybe the best thing to do with the 202.
Yeah.
I don't know that Warren's helping me on a team where I've already got Jake Ferguson. Just got Zach Ertz in the auction pretty cheap as well, even cheaper than Warren's current cap hit. So I feel like I've got my tight end room to win now. I'm going to push this win now even further and bring in Chase Brown. So I think for both teams, I think the trades make sense because of the directions our team we're going in. And I think the direction this episode is about to end, actually, at the end of it, for this episode anyway. You guys have anything else to say before we head out of here?
Yeah, great episode. I'm even more excited for Sunday. Even just hearing you break down the strategy behind that trade just makes me know it's not specifically about the auction, but it's about the salary cap format, just the different angles and layers that you analyze a trade from and from strategy, rebuilding, etc. Very excited for this league, Kyle.
Jamie, anything you want to say before we head out of here?
No. I mean, this is the wrap. Just remember, trust the data, ignore the haters, and get on the Roschon Johnson train before it leaves the station.
That was the second time it was mentioned in the episode after Jamie brought him up in the intro. But for more data, again, check out the Dynasty Six Pack All Access membership. And right now there's a reduced price if you use the promo code F6P Pods. So all the letters are capitalized and 6 is with the number 6. So F6P PODS. All letters capitalized for F6P Pods as the promo code for, again, the F6P All Access membership available on the Fantasy Six Pack website. got the Fantasy Six Pack Discord as well. You get access to some of the premium channels on there. There's also, again, the Fantasy Six Pack YouTube channel, Facebook, podcast forums, wherever you can listen or watch the show. Be sure to subscribe. If you're on YouTube, though, be sure to give us a thumbs up, like the video, subscribe if you can, but also comment with us in the live chat when we're live, but also after the fact under the video. All that helps us with our outreach and getting the podcast out to as many people as possible. And teaching people about great formats like RSO. So appreciate that. Appreciate you, Jamie, for letting us experiment with this format here.
Yep. We'll see you next time. Remember to bring the snacks because Roshan's eating.
There's the third reference. I guess third time's the charm, and we're out of here. We'll be back next week to talk about the results of this famous RSO auction startup that Rahul, Bam, Jesse, and I, everyone else that was participating in the chat, actually appreciate Bam for joining, commenting with us. We're going to look forward to this draft on Sunday. We're going to come back and really analyze a bunch of these teams in the next episode of Dynasty Six Pack. Bye for now, everyone.